There's this whole notion of a counterforensic tip, which means how do you defeat the forensic process? That's what counterforensics is. Under the best of cases, you try to read media that is at rest, disconnected or connected via write blocker, because that way you can assure that it's okay and it isn't changing while you copy it. Imagine that the media is encrypted. I just told you that I have a Dropbox with a TrueCrypt encrypted container on it. You can go out to the cloud, as has been suggested, and copy that container. It's a bunch of bits. It's not going to do you much good. So what you need to be aware of is a lot of the media these days, a lot of software on top of that media actually does encryption. And so you need to recognize that. Again, as the question was, do I need to capture memory? Maybe I need to capture memory because the passphrase is in physical memory in an unencrypted form. I could actually capture memory, mine the memory for the passphrases, and then decrypt the data. I may get lucky. We have gotten lucky. Again, the technology changes, and it used to be that these kinds of passphrases appeared in physical memory in the clear. Guess what happens now? They don't do that anymore. If they store it in memory, they'll decrypt it, they'll do all sorts of mechanisms, so when you capture memory, you can't find that stuff. So how do you know that it's encrypted? This is one of the tools that we provide on the CERT website. It's called Crypt Hunter. It is can be a CD or a USB drive. It's a program that runs under Windows that looks for telltale signs of encrypted drives and encrypted containers. It has a very small footprint because let's think about what you're doing here. You're walking up to a suspect computer. You want to image that computer. If you turn it off, you've lost all sense of the encryption. So you want to image it while it's on. So now what you're doing is you want to run a program on a potentially compromised machine with evidence on it, but you don't want to affect that evidence. So Crypt Hunter is a tool that is very, very small that looks to see if there are telltale signs of encryption on that machine. Is there an encrypted container? Is there an encrypted file system? For example, on my Mac upstairs, I already have that TrueCrypt container mounted. If it was a Windows box, you could throw in TrueCrypt. TrueCrypt would say there's an encrypted container here, which is a message to the person doing the imaging not to turn everything off, to do some other things first. This is the way it works. These are examples from it. It's essentially a red light, green light approach. No, there is no encryption. Yes, there is encryption, and you need to do something. I've actually run this on cases and have seen that, in fact, there is encryption, that you do need to do something in advance. So the alert box shows you what's going on. It can differentiate between a full disk encryption and containers, and also tell you certain kinds of packages. Table-driven, because these pieces of software actually have telltale signs. It warns only of active encryption. And one of these search warrants that we actually served, we served at the person's house. We waited for the person to leave the office. We waited for them to go home. We waited for them to log in, which meant they logged in and they decrypted their encrypted information. Then they went to do another activity. Then we served the search warrant, because the state of their machine was it was up, it was running, and whatever encrypted stuff was decrypted, so that we went to do our imaging. We had a much better chance of capturing useful information. So that's what you're trying to deal with. That's what Crypt Hunter is.
Larry,
yes.
How would you explain or define active encryption?
Encryption being used. There's something, I have my encrypted container mounted, and there is a decrypted form. That's the issue. There is a decrypted form of the encrypted data currently accessible. We have a requirement here that we're supposed to have full disk encryption on our laptops. If you're logged in on your laptop or your laptop is booted, that's active encryption where there's a decrypted form, like PGP whole disk encryption or TrueCrypt, depending on what you're using on your laptops. Other questions? So that is volatile data. That's a volatile data issue. Some of the good stuff may be in memory, maybe not. But if you power it off, you've lost it. There's no chance. Now, one of the other issues that we ran into on the same case was that we felt that if there was encryption, here's the situation. You've got an encrypted machine. The person's logged in. They have decrypted it. You are beginning to image it. But now the attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney says, you need to leave the suspect site, and you've got 1 hour done and 6 hours to go. And you need to leave in an hour. What will you do? What will you do? What we were going to do in that case is we had brought a portable power supply. We were going, and the suspect's computer was plugged into a power strip. So what we could do is we could plug in the portable power supply also into the power strip. Then we could pull the power strip out from the wall. We could then pick the whole shooting match up and take it off-site while the imaging process was continuing and everything was being decrypted. You understand the scenario I'm painting? So that can be an interesting situation. There's another, I don't remember the name of the device. In this case, it was plugged into a power strip, which meant it was easier to plug something else in. Imagine it was plugged into the wall. There is a device, I just can't think of the name of it, where you pull the plug out a little bit and you can connect power independent of the wall socket and do the same thing. See what I'm saying? So you may have this issue. So what we were going to do on this site is we were going to disconnect it. We had law enforcement with us, local police. We were going to go lights and sirens back to the headquarters in hopes that our portable power supply wouldn't die by the time we got across. And it happened to be Manhattan into Brooklyn at 2 o'clock in the morning on a weeknight. We were hoping to get back there in time. Somebody made the call and said, I think we've imaged enough and we're going to be okay. But that was the issue that we were dealing with because of encryption and all of that volatile information. That was a fun day. So CryptHunter it's a table-driven application. It looks for telltale signs of applications to say there's encryption here. We need to do something. So it looks at all of these kinds of applications. It knows whole disk encryption, the Vista BitLocker, et cetera, and it also knows these things for virtual disk encryption, meaning a container. In other words, the way I have my Dropbox set up. So it knows these kinds of things. If you are law enforcement or if you know of law enforcement, they can gain access to these tools through the CERT Forensic Tools website and download them. Good things to have. Counterforensic tip 2. What happens if there's a screensaver? Now I can't execute commands because they're logged in, the file systems are decrypted, everything's okay, but they've got a screensaver. Now that was in fact what happened at this residence on this case that I'm talking about. Specifically with the case of at least Windows, if it has a FireWire port, the way the FireWire works is such that I can actually go over the FireWire and change physical memory. And so I can add instructions in the right places in the operating system to make the operating system do things. What we did in that case was to actually rewrite computer memory and start up a command.exe, which then popped up on the screen. And we had the same access that user had bypassing their screensaver. And unfortunately, what we did in that case is nobody was actually jiggling the mouse and the screensaver kicked back in, and it's not clear that that is a repeatable operation. We might have crashed the machine. So we just kind of said, okay, we're done here. So you see what the issue is. If you walked up to my machine now, yes, in fact, my TrueCrypt container is decrypted, but my screensaver is on my Mac. And so what are your options? So this happens. This is why we have short timeouts of inactivity on our computers for the screensavers to kick in. That's an attempt to defeat this kind of activity. So as a person who's doing imaging, you need to be ready for that kind of thing. Okay, so these are all kind of things. What do you image? How much do I image? What's the order? Am I concerned about volatile information? Oh, by the way, there's the encryption thing. Oh, by the way, there's screensavers. So all of these wrenches that get thrown in the imaging works. And now you have encrypting disk drives, where the drive is doing the encryption and decryption. There's no software. That's all done at the device driver level. That gets to be another challenge.